Pokémon Ranger, a fan favorite spin-off series of the mainline Pokémon games from the mid-2000s. Quite a few people have nostalgia for these games, but if I'm being honest, I've never played a single entry. That, however, doesn't stop me from still feeling nostalgic of the days seeing the Rangers in the Pokémon anime and movies. But neither the games or anime are the topic of today's video, as today I'm going to be talking about the secret Pokémon Ranger manga that most of you probably have never heard of. So with the introduction down and out of the way, let's begin. Pokémon Ranger the comic, Double Mission, or as it's known in Japan, W Mission Story Pokémon Ranger the comic. This manga was 5 chapters long and based on a specific mission in the original Pokémon Ranger games, following the legendary Pokémon Deoxys. At first glance, you may have noticed how this manga looks oddly similar to another Pokémon manga, being Pokémon Adventures. Well, that's because not only is it illustrated, but also written by the same people who do the Pokémon manga. And from what I've seen in the story, it's also canon to that universe, just happening in a different region, being the region of Fior. As I mentioned in the intro, this manga is kind of secret, mainly due to the fact it was only available to online members in the Pokemon Daisuki Club. This dub was the Japanese equivalent to the Pokemon Trainer Club here in the West. Here in the West, you can only read the first chapter, as it was featured at the end of the Pokemon Adventures art book, but thanks to the translating team DATS, this is available for all to read. The manga starts with a Pokemon Ranger named Cameron finding a Manaphy egg in the sea. He gets a call from some of the other Rangers telling him to hurry up and get the egg back to Professor Hastings so that he can take a look at it, whilst they take on a different mission and we get to see 3 Pokemon Ranger captains all preparing to fight against one Pokemon. Elsewhere in the city, we see a building on fire with a girl stuck inside. This peril lets us be introduced to our main character, who's here to save the day. This guy is called Kazuki, and not only is he a skilled Pokemon Ranger, he also has terrible luck with women, as by taking on this Ranger job, he had to miss his date, making his 12th breakup. Feels bad, man, feels bad. However, this doesn't affect Kazuki, as his true passion in life is helping others and protecting the nature of Fior. He does this by temporarily teaming up with the Pokemon of Fior, just like a Pokemon Ranger does. We also get to learn everyone's favorite thing, lore. As it turns out, Pokemon Rangers are actually more exclusive to these smaller regions like Fior or Almia, and they don't tend to have them in places like Sinnoh. This is a good way to explain why we never see Pokemon Rangers before this, through the use of a young girl that Kazuki saved earlier, being from Sinnoh, which also acts as a double promotion, as this is promotion for the Pokemon Ranger games, but also promotion for the upcoming Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Suddenly, he gets a phone call, allowing us to be introduced to our second main character, Hinata, who reports to him that the Ranger captains we saw earlier actually battled against Deoxys, and despite the fact they're captains, and there were 3 of them, they all lost. So with the Rangers out of duty, it's up to Kazuki and Hinata to go out and stop Deoxys. A simple and pretty generic plot, but for a short manga, it's perfect. As the 2 Rangers and their partner Pokemon, Plusle and Minun, leave, we see they're being watched. You don't have to be a genius to guess that these guys are the villains. The duo discuss what they know about Deoxys, which turns out to be not much, hence why Hinata caught so many Pokemon to help them out. The 2 details they do know, however, is that the Pokemon can change its appearance and powers, and second, it's very sensitive to everything in its surroundings. Kazuki then hears some rustling as the 2 are ambushed by Deoxys out of nowhere. The Pokemon changes into its attack form and dashes away. Hinata tries everything she can to catch it, but to no avail, as Deoxys changes forms to counter each of her styler's movements. Kazuki then steps in, demonstrating the ability of Poke Assist, using Trico to boost its styler, creating a styler ring of grass around Deoxys. But some grass isn't going to stop the legendary Pokemon, as it cuts the capture line. And if Deoxys wasn't enough trouble, the main villains decide now's the perfect time to show up, doing usual villain things like provoking the heroes on their failure, and also doing an exposition dump. As for who these villains are, they are the Go Rock Squad, and they're a group of 4 siblings who not only provoked Deoxys into fighting the Ranger captains, but also stole Manaphy's egg from Cameron. The sister of the siblings takes the Manaphy egg and runs off, leaving the Rangers entangled by Deoxys. Hinata gets annoyed at this, but Kazuki tells her not to worry, because they're professionals. Their mission before may have been to capture Deoxys, but now their mission is to capture Deoxys and get the egg back, making it a double mission, or W mission. Boom, title drop. Although they can't move, the duo use some quick thinking, utilizing the disc from their fight with Deoxys to launch them at the Pokemon, forcing it to release them and protect itself. Kazuki tells Hinata to chase after the sister whilst he deals with Deoxys. So the duo is split up and Kazuki does just what he said he would, fighting the rampaging Deoxys, trying everything he can to capture it. However, capturing a legendary Pokemon is nowhere near easy, and every time Deoxys cuts the line, his styler gets more and more damage, meaning he can't just spam and has to think carefully. Unfortunately though, Kazuki isn't only fighting Deoxys, he also has to fight the brothers of the Go Rock Squad. And these guys are no joke, attacking him directly and managing to destroy his capture disc. Over with Hinata, she manages to catch up and stop the sister, with the help of a swallow she caught earlier. She tries to stop the sister from controlling the camera up with her, but her styler gets overpowered. A Pokemon Ranger styler may have less priority than a regular Pokeball, but it's still no joke, so it getting overpowered can only be done by another styler. And it turns out that's exactly the case. The sister reveals inside her violin lies a stolen styler from Professor Hastings' research. Acting kind of like a Dark Ball from the Pokemon Forever movie, she showcases its full potential by using it to try capture Hinata's partner, Plusle. The thought of there being a device that steals away your own Pokemon is a pretty scary thing. We cut back to Kazuki, who's encountering the same issue, with the brothers using their own stylers to control Deoxys, with each of them controlling Deoxys' different forms. Kazuki starts to get angry at the brothers' manipulative tactics, but getting angry isn't enough when you're up against a legendary, as the brothers command their Cypher to hold Kazuki up in the sky, whilst they try capture his Minun. From the sky, Kazuki can see Hinata, and she can do the same from below. The chance of victory is looking pretty slim, but Hinata suddenly gets a message on her styler. She then gets attacked by the sister, but with the Pokemon she caught earlier, manages to evade and flee. From above, Kazuki can notice something about her movements and tells Minun that it's gonna have to trust him, as the two of them are about to jump right here and now. Kazuki rips himself off of the Cypher and prepares his secret plan. At the same time of this, we get a look at what the Ranger captains from earlier are up to. These guys give us an opportunity to learn about Kazuki, as we learn that Kazuki looks up to one of these Ranger captains, named Hayate. When Kazuki was younger, he would often send Hayate letters of his passion, wanting to become a Pokemon Ranger just like him. And over these letters, you could see a change in his personality, starting off becoming a Pokemon Ranger because it looks cool, to becoming a Pokemon Ranger to help people and Pokemon. It's a really plain and generic backstory, but we only have 5 chapters here. Back on the battlefield, we finally get to see Kazuki reveal his plan. Using his styler and a spare disc that Minun had, Vertu released a charge of a styler at the ground at the last second, using the recoil to redirect his landing. Now with him being free, he gets Minun to cut the capture line that was circling it, which is exactly what Deoxys did to them earlier. The damage of this manages to break the siblings' stylers, and with their stylers shattered, that changes Deoxys back into its normal form, allowing Kazuki to finish things off by releasing the Pokemon from its captured state. The Ranger and Pokemon share a look before Deoxys takes to the sky. The sister gets caught off guard by this, and Hinata takes a chance to strike, cutting the line that was circling around Plusle, doing the same thing to her styler, and lastly managing to retrieve the stolen egg. The siblings all wonder, how did they manage to free Deoxys? With Kazuki giving a breakdown on everything that happened. The message Hinata got was actually from the Pokemon Ranger HQ and was the key to defeating Deoxys, being that it had to be captured in its normal state. So Hinata managed to spell out the word normal from the sky, using the Poke Assist feature. So when it looked like she was trying to flee, she was actually creating a master plan. So with their plan failing, the Go Rock Squad retreat, vowing to get their revenge. Kazuki and Hinata regroup, and the two release the Pokemon they captured earlier, and also take the chance to give a proper farewell to Deoxys, who leaves into the air. And with that, double mission complete. The duo head back to the lab and discuss with the other Rangers and Professor what to do with the egg, with them figuring out the only way to hatch the egg is to hatch it in a different region, specifically one with trainers. Which reminds Kazuki of what the girl told him, being that in the region she's from, they have trainers, specifically the Sinnoh region. Once again utilizing the double promotion, as the only way to get Manaphy in the Diamond and Pearl Platinum games is to hatch Manaphy's egg, which you get from Pokemon Ranger. So it's decided the Manaphy egg would go to Sinnoh to be hatched, whilst our Ranger duo Kazuki and Hinata get given their next mission, ending this short story. Alright, I might just be having some recency bias, but this short manga was honestly amazing. I don't know all the details behind its creation or how much time they had to work on it, but the pacing felt really well done even though it was 5 chapters. It may have felt like a lot of then this happened, but for a simple promotion story like this, I think it works fine. The manga showcased enough from the Pokemon Ranger side of things to make me even feel like wanting to play a Pokemon Ranger game myself. And of course, another reason of that is the characters. From the cool Ranger captains who get defeated off screen, to the obnoxious 2000s villains. Kazuki and Hinata are both really great characters, who bounce off of each other well. We got to learn a bit about Kazuki's backstory, making him even more likable, but I wish we got to hear about Hinata as well. As I also said, this story feels connected to the main series manga, and the main reason I say this is because that Manaphy egg actually does end up getting hatched by the Sinnoh Dex holders, which is a really cool connection. I wish we got to see more of these guys, as they're pretty much Dex holders in their own right, but alas, this was just a promotional manga. We did however get another short sequel manga, covering Pokemon Ranger Shadow of Olmia, so if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe with the bell so you can be notified of my next upload. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts of this manga, and with all that said and done, I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.